3,000 jobs gone in one announcement. McKinsey just made its biggest cut since the 2008 financial crisis. Somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 people, roughly 10% of the firm, gone. Not because business slowed down, because AI is now doing work that used to require entire teams of analysts. Deloitte scrapped its job titles for all 181,500 employees in the United States. The analyst to manager ladder that defined consulting careers for 50 years, gone. KPMG cut about 400 advisory roles. Accenture cut 11,000. Here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. These are the firms that built their fortunes selling disruption to everybody else. Now they're the ones being disrupted. For decades, consulting worked because of one simple fact. Clients didn't have access to the same information the consultants did. You paid for the research, you paid for the analysis, you paid for the synthesis nobody else in your building had time to do, or the decks people didn't want to create. That gap's closing fast with AI. Consulting's entire economic engine ran on leverage. 10 to 15 junior associates for every partner. Those associates billed clients $200 to $400 an hour. The firm paid them 50 to 80, multiply that spread across thousands of engagements and tens of thousands of staff. And that's the business model, the leveraged business model. AI is now doing the junior work though. And McKinsey, they have their own internal tool called Lilli, and that cuts research and synthesis time by about 30% on a typical engagement. Deloitte built an agentic platform called Zora AI that handles information processing junior staff used to manage over weeks of time. BCG has a tool called Deckster that builds full presentation decks in minutes. So here's the question every consulting client and every consulting firm has to answer right now. If AI can do the research, what are you paying for? Well, the answer is simple. It's judgment, not analysis, judgment. Here's what I'd point you to if you're trying to figure out where the real value has moved in the consulting industry. It's moved to organizational change leadership, getting people inside a real messy organization to actually adopt new ways of working. It moved to AI governance, then to decision design. Somebody has to decide which decisions AI is allowed to own and who's accountable when it gets it wrong. It moved to executive alignment and facilitation, getting senior leaders who disagree on the problem itself to actually reach consensus. That's not a spreadsheet skill. It moved to program leadership, full accountability for a transformation from start to finish, not a slice of a small project. And it's moving to mergers and acquisitions integration, the cultural and human work that no financial model can predict. And it's moving to crisis and reputation management, high stakes judgment built from having sat inside comparable situations before when stakes are high and crisis is high as well. It's moving to culture diagnosis and redesign, finding the informal norms and power dynamics, quietly blocking the strategy the board has already approved. And it's moving to innovation management, deciding which bets are worth making when the data is incomplete and somebody has to have the conviction to move anyway. And then there's also regulatory strategy and navigation, knowing how a specific regulator actually behaves, built from years in the room with them, not a database. And then leadership development, accelerating judgment and resilience in leaders through direct coaching, not canned courses. Notice what all of these things have in common. None of them are computed from data. All of them require someone who's actually lived through the situation before, has relational skills, and understands a bit of psychology. When every client can run the research themselves, the only thing left to sell is what to do with that research. That's the reframe, so you can leapfrog the headlines, your leadership, and your business. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and find me at sorenkaplan.com.